So you had homework again last night. It was just the top part of page 9. You just had to do the chart. We did the first one together. We did Florida. We got around 28 degrees north and 80 degrees west. If you said like 30 north, it might have been a little high depending on where your dot was, but it's probably fine. How about Buffalo? What'd you get for Buffalo? I think we did that one together too. We said 43 degrees north and 80 degrees west. How about now the Tasman hotspot? What are you thinking? I like it. 35 degrees south. Hey, did anybody say 45? So that's super common to make that mistake. Where is it? Right there. So it is, people see, hang on. I can't do it without a straight edge. You saw that it was close to 40. Make sure you see that the Tasman hotspot was between 30 and 40, which makes it 35, not 45. And I got 160 east. How'd you do? Similar? Okay. The Yellowstone hotspot, what'd you guys say? Okay, I said 47, you're 45 is fine. And longitude? Okay, what label? West. I said 115. Again, if you're within a couple of mine, you're good. The labels have to be correct though. How about Galapagos hotspot? Okay, so a few of you said 2 degrees north. I heard that. I also heard a bunch of people say right on 0. And that's fine. So either one is fine. Remember, if you did say 0 though, it gets no label because latitude is how far north or south of the equator you are. So if you are the equator, you're not north or south of yourself. And then what'd you say for longitude? Okay, so I said 100 degrees west. You guys good with that? All right. Canary hotspot. Okay, I said 35. Your 34 is perfect. Anybody else for longitude? Okay, so let's take a look at that one. I actually could have the wrong answer. Or you know what it probably is? I probably just went to the other side of the half the problem is always finding it. Where the heck is it? Oh, I have the longitude, so I should be able to find it. 7 should be right around. There we go. So depending on like where on the star you decided to make your measurement, your answer might be slightly different. So I would take any of those, 11 all the way up to like 19. Anything over 20, you measured on the wrong side though. So I did say 17 west, but that was just where I took the measurement. The stars are kind of big, so. But if you said anything over 20, that would have been to the left of the number 20. So that would have been too far over. All right, how about Fiji plate? Now this one is a whole plate. So we all might have slightly different answers because it would be anywhere in this plate would work unless you did the exact dot. So I said 15 degrees south. Did you say whoa? Oh, you said oh, and 175 degrees east. Why'd you say oh? Is that way off from what you had? What did you have? 25. Let's see. Yeah, so that you did people do that all the time in the Southern Hemisphere. So I guess if you did go to the very bottom of the Fiji plate, it could be 25, but I bet what you did was you saw that the Fiji plate was a little higher on the map than 20, like a little closer to the top. So you probably thought it was 25. Be careful in the Southern Hemisphere because they get bigger as you go down. Sandwich plate. Again, this is a big plate, so your answers might be different. I got 60 south and 30 west. It was a whole plate, so you could have gotten slightly different answers. Hawaii hotspot, I did 20 degrees north and 155 degrees west, 65 degrees north and 17 degrees west. Are there any of those that you want me just to go over? Sure. Okay, we're gonna try something different. We're not gonna bother with the questions on the bottom of the page. We will, just like yesterday, we're going to kind of be working in the packet and your reference table at the same time. So now if everybody could open their reference tables to pages 2 and 3. So pages 2 and 3 are more maps. This time, instead of being a map of the world, we have, what do you see? Maps of New York. Pages 2 and 3 are both maps of New York. They show very different things. As you can see on page 2, there's not a lot written here. So this is the generalized landscape region. So if you're looking, you should look at, do some of those names sound familiar? Like we've got the Adirondack Mountains. We got the Erie, Ontario lowlands, which in parentheses is called the Plains. Then we got the Allegheny Plateau. The Catskills are mountains. We've got lowlands again, mountains again, highlands, which is a fancy word for mountains, or a place that's high at least. This map shows, as it says in its title, generalized landscape region. So not landscape like the flowers in the front of your house, but landscapes like what does the land look like? Meaning, is it mountains? Is it plains? Is it a plateau? Whatever. So you may notice there's no cities labeled on here. But on page 3, you'll see that it's the exact same map, just with different stuff on it. This one includes places. So we've got Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Jamestown, Elmira, Ithaca. They don't go on and on about every single town in New York State. Notice Arcade is not on there. No Delavan, no Sardinia, nothing like that. They only do some major ones, and they're not even all major, but I will tell you the regions will only ever ask you about the ones that are labeled. So they won't pick some random town, which like Cicero, which is outside of Syracuse. They won't pick something unless it's on here. So one thing that they might ask you is, what landscape region is Buffalo in? So Buffalo's labeled down here on page 3. Is it labeled on page 2? It's not. Then how are they going to expect you to know what landscape region Buffalo is if Buffalo's labeled down here and not up there? What do you think you're going to have to do? Yeah, you're going to have to use these two maps together, which is another reason why I stapled them the way I did. Because that way you can just find Buffalo or whatever city you're talking about, and you can make a straight line up. So if I line my ruler up, I know that Buffalo is somewhere on this line. And then you kind of have to use like landmarks to kind of help you. So you can see that on Lake Erie, Buffalo's kind of right where Lake Erie kind of pushes into the land. So if you come up here and do the same thing, Buffalo is right where Lake Erie pushes in a little, that little like indent. And Buffalo is firmly in which landscape region if you were to do that? Yeah, so Buffalo is right here or so, which is in the Erie, Ontario lowlands. Do you guys know where you are? Like you and Pioneer, you. Yeah, so you're not on this map. So like I was saying, we're not on here, but we are a little bit southwest of Buffalo. I'm sorry, southeast of Buffalo. So we kind of travel, we're somewhere in this general area. And since Buffalo is so close to the border, you can see that you guys are going to be here in the Allegheny Plateau. So I'm still in Eden. I'm still close to Erie, Ontario, but I'm actually really close to the border at my house. So, but you guys are into the Allegheny Plateau for sure. So that's how they're going to ask you to use these maps together. For today, we're going to be focusing in on page 3 more, and that's because this one has a lot more details. So on page 3, the few things that you can notice, one, we already talked about, it's got the cities labeled. It's got the lakes are labeled. It's got rivers labeled. You guys should probably understand already how to use the key. So you can see that Buffalo is in this polka dotted region, which if you come down here, these symbols tell you the geological periods and eras of New York. Basically, they're telling you when the rocks were made in that area. So the polka dots are telling us that Buffalo was made during the Devonian. It also tells you what kind of rocks Buffalo is made out of. So it's made out of limestone, shale, sandstone, and conglomerate. Slurrian also contains salt, gypsum, and hematite. So that might all be above your heads right now, but I just wanted to show you that it's there. For today, we're focusing in on the latitude and longitude lines that are also labeled. So the first thing I want you to do is grab your ruler, which I asked you to pick up, and one of your colored pencils. I'm going to ask you to put your ruler latitude-wise on your map. So again, this is a test to make sure you know what latitude means. Page 3. So I do want you to have your map so turned so it looks like it is on the board. So don't have your paper turned the regular way, have it turned sideways, which now you guys are all good now. Put your ruler latitude-wise. Which way is latitude? Is latitude across the paper or up and down? Across. One way, if I haven't already told you, that I remember, I always say in my head, latitude, flatitude. So latitude is when the ruler is flat, meaning straight across your paper. You may notice that there are some numbers here on the left and right of each of the pieces or each side of the paper. Find the 2 that are labeled 42, please. And you should have your paper or your ruler lined up perfectly with 42 on each side of the map. So it's down near the New York, Pennsylvania border, if you haven't found it already. Go ahead and make sure your ruler's really good and lined up. And go ahead and draw that 42 line, please. I'm going to make it go all the way across the paper, like off the map, just so you can kind of see the line really well. And then I'm going to have you do the same thing with the 43 line. So you'll notice with the 43, there's like a plus sign. We want the flat part of the plus sign over to the other dashed line. Again, I'm going to take that all the way across my paper. First of all, do you notice anything about those lines? They do line up. You have to force them to line up. So that's why I specify, line the ruler up with the marks. So what is it, Benson? It looks slightly slanted. Why might these lines, if you did them the way I told you to, why might they be a little slanted? The earth isn't a flat sheet of paper for number 1. The earth is it's curved. So trying to put straight flat lines on a curve is going to look weird. That's one thing. And then the other thing is New York State is not perfectly centered like it is on this map. In real life, New York State leans a little. So New York State's a little crooked, and I don't mean that in like the not law-abiding way of crooked. I mean, it's not straight across. New York is a little slanted. So that is but they wanted the map to look really nice on here. So they centered and straightened out New York perfectly on this map so that the map looked good, but that causes a few other issues. So as long as you're doing this, I would like you to also go up to the 44 and do a straight line across. So again, make sure you're connecting them perfectly. They're going to look crooked. And then do the 45 as well. It's the last one at the top we're gonna do. And they're gonna start to look really crooked. And if you haven't already, there's also a 41 down there near Long Island that you need to draw in. That's when they're gonna start to look really weird. Why do you think they gave you a zoomed in map of New York State? How accurate were we yesterday when we were talking about finding the latitude and longitude of Buffalo on a world map? Yeah, do all of them. So you're going 41 through 45 on here. How accurate were you? Gotta do the 41. We were a couple off. Can you be super accurate finding the latitude of a single place on a map of the world? No, that map was just too big yesterday. We couldn't be super accurate. Yesterday on our homework, we said that Buffalo had a latitude of 43. Everybody find the 43 line. Is Buffalo right on the 43? No, we're pretty close though, aren't we? If you were to do this, if I had to have you now estimate, you see where the 42 is, you see where the 43 is, how would you have estimated where Buffalo is now? What would you say? What would be the latitude of Buffalo? 42 point, what would you say? 42 if here. Oh wait, let's do this, get a little more accurate. Here, I'll help you get a little bit better. Take your ruler. Do you see the plus sign over here in Lake Erie? And then there's a dash over by in between the U and the S in Massachusetts. Put your ruler there so it's on the plus sign of Lake Erie and that dash over by the U. Do not draw a line though. What I do want you to do is draw a dashed line. So just a few. Again, make sure your ruler's nice and lined up. So it's gonna look like that old fashioned letters, we used to learn how to write your letters. See what I'm saying? That marks off the 42.5 mark. So is Buffalo bigger or smaller than 42.5? Way bigger, in fact. So what would you give it as an estimate? 0.7, 0.8 maybe? Does everybody see where that would come from? It's almost 43. How about Jamestown down here? What would you call it? 42.2, maybe 42.1. Does everybody see where we're getting those estimates? Okay, I got bad news for you. That was pretty easy to get the decimals, right? You guys totally get that? Because it wasn't right on the line, so you got to give it a decimal between 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Yeah, it's not that easy. I have that. They have to make it weird. It's not even the Regents people this time. It's whoever decided to make math. Doesn't go by decimals. It does, however, go by minutes. Because it can't just be plain and simple. Now minutes, let's talk about minutes on a clock here for a second. If we have a clock, how many minutes are in an hour? 60. If you're halfway around the clock, so if the big hand's on the 6, how many minutes is that? 30. Is there such a thing as 9.5 o'clock? No. What do I mean by 9.5 o'clock? 9:30, halfway between 9 and 10, right? That's how this works. So it's not it's not 42.5 right here at the halfway mark. We're gonna write that as 42 degrees, 30 minutes. I know, sorry. I saw that. It's not me, it's not even the region. So that's a 42 with a degrees symbol. And then a 30 with a minute, which kind of just looks like a, what is that, an apostrophe? That's how we have to tell. We don't get to do decimals. We have to kind of think of it as a clock. So the same with the clock. What's halfway between like 9 o'clock and 9:30? 15 minutes. So when the big hand's on the 3, it's 15 minutes. So what do you think that mark is that I just labeled? That just put that little dash there. This is 42 degrees, 15 minutes. And one more, just to make sure you fully get it. What is the halfway between 9:30 and 10 o'clock? No, 9:30 and 10 o'clock? 45. Same thing here. This is going to be 42 degrees, 45 minutes. So it doesn't go to 100, it doesn't go to 0.9, it goes by minutes. How about Buffalo now then? Okay, Wyatt's got an idea. Anybody else have any ideas for Buffalo? So we start with the degrees. How many degrees is Buffalo? 42. Abso-freaking-lutely. Buffalo is 42 degrees. And then how many minutes do you want to estimate? There's the halfway, or at least what I marked as the halfway mark. So maybe, so that's the 42 degrees, 45 minute that I have the ruler on. We're just a little bit above that. So what are you thinking? I heard a whole bunch of people say something. 42 degrees, what do you think? How many minutes? 50 works. 42 degrees, 50 minutes. So make sure you put that in the Buffalo one. I see we skipped Watertown. I didn't mean to. Should just put Buffalo first. Is that label perfectly correct right now? No, what's the only thing missing? You gotta tell me it's north. So you say this as 42 degrees, 50 minutes north. Why do you do this? Because that's how the people who made maps do it. How did I get the 50 minutes? So, oh, so you just randomly labeled it. So this is the halfway mark between 0 and 30. And then 45 should be down here. So right here is halfway. It's like halfway around between 30 and 10 o'clock. 45. And then what would the next line be? The next would be 60. So we know that Buffalo is in between 45 and 60. Now, I did say the next line will be, so it's not really 60, just like there's no 60 on the clock. Is there such a thing as 9:60 on the clock? What is 9:60 on the clock? 10 o'clock. So 60 minutes after 9 o'clock is 10 o'clock. So that next line up is where it turns to the next degree. So right here would be the 43 degree line, not the 60 line. Want to try another one? Watertown is the next one, or is the first one, I should say. So the first problem with this map is finding Watertown. And you do, I am going to have you struggle a little bit to find where Watertown is. Right there. I know you can't see it on mine, but it's right there. So let's say, first of all, what whole degree is Watertown? It is 43. It's 43 something. You probably would have said it was 43.9 before when you did it the easy way. Almost 44. So it is 43 something. And how many minutes? So we said Buffalo was 50 minutes. So do you think Watertown is 50 minutes as well? No, it's a little bit closer even. So 55, 59 even would have worked. And it's still north. 57 would be wonderful. We're not done yet, but I will give you some time to practice this before you just take it home. Guess what? Longitude's the same way. So you got this. We're going to practice it enough that it's going to be okay. So work with me here for a couple times because I want to make sure you don't screw this up. Grab your ruler, grab your other colored pencil. We're going to start over here on 79. So again, notice there's a plus sign up here in Lake Erie for 79. Now, since we're doing longitude, the up and down ones, we're going to connect the two 79s. Guys, these are going to look pretty crooked. So they're supposed to be crooked. So do the 79 and keep going across New York State. I will warn you when you get to 73, do not mess up the 73 because it's real crooked over there. There is a 73 labeled and there's a 7330 labeled. So do not mess up the 73 line. Here's pencil sharpener in the back there. Be careful at 73. Again, guys, please be careful at 73. Make sure it says plain old regular 73. Yeah, this is 73. 73 is pretty darn crooked or slanted, however you want to think of it. Oh, sorry. Sorry, 74. Oh, in here. Oh, no, 75 is the 75. There's perfect. Got it. So like I was saying, longitude works the same way. So let's do Buffalo's longitude. So Buffalo, let's go right there. The dot for Buffalo is right before the word. So right there. What whole degree are we? No, longitude now. So we're close to 79, but are we at 79? We're 78 something. So we're 78 degrees. Now we got to do the minutes. What are you thinking? Where's the halfway? Here's the halfway mark, if that helps you. Yeah, I agree with that. So here's the halfway. So the halfway mark, remember, isn't 0.5, it's 30 minutes. So I would say we're like, just like on the clock, like just like right now, we're almost 9 o'clock. So we're at, what time is it right now? 8:55. So that's the same deal here. We're almost at 79. So I would go 78 degrees, 55 minutes. And what's the label? North, south, east? Oh, sorry. Make sure you didn't write that in Watertown. North, south, east, or west? West. Latitudes options, and maybe you want to put that there, are south or north. Longitude are east and west. But since these are all in New York State, these are always going to be north and west. We're all of New York State, all of the United States is in the northwest of the world. Just like yesterday, we're going to stop here. And again, your homework is just the chart. Do not bother. In fact, we're going to just cross those 4 questions off on the bottom. We will never do those this chapter. Okay. I'm going to come over and help you right now. Do you have a question? Like a quick. If it's exactly on one, is there one that's exactly on? Is there one that's on 42? Oh, slide mount. Exactly on 42. You can either just write it as 42 degrees, or you could say 42 degrees, 0 minutes. I will be right there.